In an interview with news.gov.hk, Secretary for Labour and Welfare Matthew Cheung said the Labour Department is fully geared up for the implementation of the statutory minimum wage starting May 1st. The Labour Department will conduct workplace inspections to explain the minimum wage ordinance to employers and employees and will take strict enforcement action if needed.
Now, in case we discover that mistakes are made inadvertently, not intentionally, unintentionally, then of course we'll rectify the mistakes and make sure that any underpayment has to be made good for the employee. But in case we detect willful intent on the part of the employer to avoid, for example, obligations under the statutory minimum wage, then we will, I'm afraid, take prosecution action and enforcement action.
The Labour Department will bolster its employment support services to help those affected by the minimum wage implementation, and the Employees Retraining Board will also provide additional places. Over the issue of pay for meal breaks and rest days, Mr. Cheung said these are terms of employment to be agreed between employers and employees. They should not be legislated under the minimum wage ordinance.
The employment terms. And all along, Hong Kong labour law does not mandate employers to pay for meal breaks and rest days. It's silent. Put it this way, it's completely silent. There is no requirement as such. So because of that very important background, in legislating for minimum wage, our focus will be on, of course, minimum wage itself. It's entirely up to employers and employees to negotiate on these so-called employment terms. Now, this is very important.
After the minimum wage's introduction, he stressed employees' pay should not be lower than before. Employers should not reduce employees' existing remuneration and benefits and should not unilaterally vary employees' employment terms and conditions.
Well, it's perfectly understandable that employees always look for better terms, better attractive employment terms. At the same time, employers are mindful of the overheads, operating costs, and so on. It's entirely understandable. I think the question, particularly for small and medium enterprise employers, whether they can afford better benefits for the employees, it's not so much a question of conscience. Rather, it's a question of ability, affordability. If they have problems coping with this additional welfare benefits for employees, they should engage in dialogue, sincere, candid dialogue with the employees, explain the difficulties. I'm sure that the employees will understand.
He hopes employers and employees can join hands to enable the new legislation to realize its greatest benefit, improving salaries for the grassroots workers without significant impact on small businesses.
From past experience, teething problems are inevitable for a major policy change of this magnitude. Indeed, if I may say so, we are entering into uncharted waters in Hong Kong's social development. I'm confident that we can surmount all hurdles if we are prepared to walk an extra step for the long-term benefit and social harmony of Hong Kong.